My name is Macy Kaplan. I am a co-founder of the Loose Ends Project. I live in Maine. I have a background in graphic design and marketing and entrepreneurship, and I've worked with nonprofits most of my adult life, and I love finding meaningful work.
I'm Jen Simonik. I'm a co-founder of the Loose Ends Project. I have a background in education and in science, and I've been a lifelong knitter. And this is just a project that speaks to me with all the things that we do. Just finding the best in people, and I think that's what we do. So it's pretty exciting to be here. Thank you for having us. Macy and I met 25 years ago. The way that Loose Ends happened, Macy's been thinking about it for a while. It's something that all finishers do. A lot of us that do fiber arts are often approached by people who have family members who have passed away, who have done fiber arts, and say things like, I've got this bag and I'd love you to have it because it would mean so much that somebody could have this stuff that my mom was working on. They usually don't know what mom was doing, or they have a slight idea. There's a lot of people who are like, here's a crochet bag, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of knitting. That's, not that it matters. Or here's a box of fabric, and you're like, well, that's actually a quilt top that's almost finished. And Macy had been kicking around the idea, like, I can't be the only person who does this. She finished a couple of things. I've finished sweaters for people. I've finished blankets for people. And we were approached by a good friend of ours whose mother had passed away, and were asked to go through the bag. And as we went through it, we found 2 crocheted blankets that had not been finished. And Macy said, I've been thinking about the fact that there's a lot of these projects in the world, and we can't be the only people who do this, and there must be a lot of people who don't know who to go to. And that's kind of how it was born.
Loose Ends works by both project owners and volunteer finishers signing up on our website. So we have forms for either, for both functions. If someone wants to become a volunteer finisher, they can go to the website and fill out a short form. It will ask questions like, what kind of craft do you do? What skill level do you see yourself? What kinds of things do you like to do? And what kinds of things do you not like to do? We get people's information about where they live. That is pretty much it. Filling out the form means you are automatically a finisher.
And our very first project that got finished was also a friend of Macy's and mine. Annie had two sweaters that were made by her mother that had not been finished. Little adorable little cotton sweaters that had little owls on it. And they were she went through the first process of signing up as a project submitter, and we matched her with a finisher. I think at that point we might have had 60 finishers and 5 projects. Annie's, our project finisher was Sarah, and Sarah finished them in record time. And when Annie got them back, it was very emotional, and it was one of those things that was like, okay, we know that this should be in the universe. Look, we made a system to make it in the universe. Oh, it's working! Yay! And since then, it's just kind of blown up. It's been amazing.
The other button on the site is for submitting a project, and in order to qualify to have your project finished, it needs to have been begun by someone who is either deceased or who can no longer do the craft because of compromised health, compromised eyesight. We have projects that come in because people have experienced health problems, cognitive problems, arthritis, vision problems. It's not just for people who are deceased, but it's for crafters who just, for those reasons, can't do their work anymore. And then once the projects come into us, we're able to look at them, see pictures of them, see where they were left off, see the remaining materials, whether or not they were left with a pattern, which sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. And we're able to match the project with the finisher, we first look at geography. And we do that because it's great when people live near each other, and the projects often don't need to even go into the mail, and that saves money. It lowers the carbon footprint, and it helps create community because often people get to meet in real life, which is awesome. And once we look at geography, we then will look at what craft is employed. Is it quilting? Is it knitting? Is it crochet? Is it embroidery? There's a long list of crafts, and as long as they're fiber arts related, we will accept them. And then after that, we'll look at skill level. Sometimes things are elaborate, difficult, complicated projects, and sometimes they're simple. And after that, we look at druthers, inclination, like what kinds of things does this crafter want to do? What kinds of things do they never, ever want to do again as long as they live? We look at that too. Because everybody has preferences. And we just kind of take all of those variables into effect so that everybody has a good experience with this. We have finishers from every state in the US, from every Canadian province. We have more than 8,300 finishers right now. We have finishers in 43 different countries. Because of that, whenever a project comes in from anywhere, we're able to pretty quickly match it to somebody who lives nearby most of the time. A lot of the time, the projects don't need to even go into the mail. There is no charge to have your project finished. All of the people who do the work on these projects are volunteers, and they have signed up to do it for free, just as a gesture of generosity toward another person, toward a stranger. And that's one of the things that we really want to keep. We're holding on to that, because part of the thing that makes this so beautiful, besides just rescuing unfinished projects, is actually this lovely interaction between human beings who don't know each other. Right. And that said, there is often if things do have to go into the mail, there can be a cost associated with that. And that cost does lie on the project owner both ways. A lot of times the finishers and the project owners will be able to meet if they live near each other. They certainly do communicate through email a lot. What Jen and I do are we take all of the variables on both sides and match them up. And once we make a match, we introduce and once the finisher has agreed, yes, this is a project that we'll propose the project to them. And once they look at it and say yes to it, Jen and I will introduce the two people in an email. And at that point, we kind of step away. We're always here for questions. We're here to help solve problems. But at that point, we let that relationship take the forefront and happen. And a lot of times people have met at the end to present the finished project. And that's been we haven't been there to witness that, but we have received photos of those moments, and they're beautiful, like tearful, lovely stories that have Jen and myself like crying on a daily basis. Like we get to just witness these people who are now kind of bound together forever because they have projects that they're wearing or keeping that are part of their loved one's work and part of the stranger's work together.
One of the first projects that really was very touching is a person had reached out to us and they had just lost their spouse. And it was one of those kismet moments. In the early days, we would go to yarn shop and send and walk in with flyers and explain what we were doing. And people would say, oh yeah, that happens sometimes. And I did that in a local yarn shop. And the next day somebody walked in with a project that they found at their bedside that their spouse was working on. And it was really sad, story because they had lost their spouse way too early. We were able to match them up, and the woman who took the project put a lifeline in. Now with knitting, there's this thing called the lifeline where you take a thread and you capture all the strands that are on the needle, so that if you make a mistake or you have to pull something out, it stops at that lifeline. And we thought, oh gosh, what an amazing story, like an amazing thing, because it's where the crafters stop too. With that particular project, the finisher finished the project, learned a new stitch to do it, really took her time to make sure it was correct and ready. And then there was some yarn left over, and she made a hat to go with the scarf, which was just very touching and lovely, and just such a nice gift. We have a wonderful website. It's www.looseensproject.org. On that website, you can find a button to become a finisher. And the question we always get is, do you have any finishers here? The answer is always going to be yes, but we need more, because you never know what skill we're going to need in that area. The more, the merrier. You can also download our flyer. We have them on our website in many different languages. That's been another fun part, is we have people who are like, I speak Hebrew. Could you use one in Hebrew? And we're like, sure, that'd be great. And the woman who did that for us said, a lot of our elderly, they only speak Hebrew, and that would be a way to get them to know what's going on. So we currently have, we have French, German, Spanish, Hebrew, Czech, because a woman from the Czech Republic came and saw us. So by taking these flyers that are on our website and downloading them, the PDF, and printing them out, or sharing them with your local library, your local funeral parlor, your local senior center, your local school, by putting these up in your neighborhood, if you're a finisher, there's a better chance of getting a project, and it just spreads the word a lot. So that's another way you can help us, is telling people about us and posting on social media about us and downloading our flyers and putting them up in the old school way. And then the last thing is, we do have a GoFundMe set up. We are working on our nonprofit status right now, but in the meantime, we have a GoFundMe because things like server space and email accounts and printing all cost money, and we need donations for that. So we have a donate here button right on the top of our page, and if you donate, you'll get a nice little thank you note from us via email saying thank you. And that's it. That's how you can help us.
We welcome anyone who's interested to sign up to become a volunteer finisher. And if you happen to have a craft from your family or from a friend who left it behind, and it's in something that you don't do yourself, we're happy to accept that and match you with a finisher.
When you get that bag or that project box or that room full of craft that someone's like, please help me, I don't want this to go to waste. It's also that they don't want that person's time and effort to be for nothing, and that's something I think we can all relate to.